program.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, so 150 Rand a day, that's almost 117% hike from the current levels. How realistic are these demands?
You know, the wages that people earn are not grasped by farmers from the air. There's a coherent economic process that determines wages in the background. And ultimately, wages are connected to the level of skill and productivity of the workers. I think farmers would be much more open to these wage demands if there was some kind of productivity deal with it. For example, paying workers on a piece basis so that their productivity was connected in some way to what they earn. But that's not what we're seeing. In fact, unions involved in the process have excluded productivity deals. So unfortunately, due to the fact that these are unskilled workers, they work on a temporary basis, they have very low physical productivity, these wage demands are quite unrealistic.
If we see high increases in this sector, what could be the consequences?
You know, over the last 15 years, employment in the agricultural sector in South Africa has fallen from 1.8 million to just 660,000. So there's been a catastrophic decline in the number of people employed in agriculture. I think if this sort of wage demand is met, we're going to see substantial further declines in employment. It is just an economic relationship. If the wages rise above productivity, employment will drop. So this is the trade-off facing the government at the moment, which is why it hasn't interacted or intervened as decisively as it could have, because government is aware of the trade-off between wages and employment.
You know, I get a sense that the first round of these strikes kicked off as a result of Marikana. And I'm wondering if these strikes continue, may they spread to other sectors?
I think there's a good chance of that. We're starting to see union activism in sectors like construction, engineering, transport and logistics. Those sectors where employment is of a very much unskilled variety, we're starting to see union agitation. I think it's very easy for this kind of violence, intimidation and wage demands to filter into other sectors.
Is there a role for government here? We're hearing the worker representatives saying that government is not doing enough. And I wonder if the commercial farmers are getting help from government as well to try and find an answer.
I think government is aware that it's between a rock and a hard place. Yes, there's a case, an equitable case for improving working and living conditions for farm workers, but on the other hand, this is a vital economic sector that's very labour intensive from an employment point of view. I expect that government is going to remain out of the picture to a great extent, because interfering in this very volatile sector is likely to lead government to get its hands burnt.
All right, moving away from agriculture, we're seeing Kusasela to mine saying, look, we're not going to open for the foreseeable future. Is this the first step, do you think, in the next stage of dealing with these kinds of issues, that employers would rather stay shut than to have to deal with some of the challenges that they dealt with?
I think labour relations in South Africa have reached a completely new level, and I think the levels of violence and intimidation that we're observing, the readiness to strike, I think this is now going to become a permanent feature of the South African labour relations framework. So I'm not hopeful at all. I think that in mining, what mines will continue to do is employ mechanisation, capital equipment, automation to reduce the use of labour as far as possible. I mean, in mining over the last 15 years, employment has fallen from 1.4 million to just 500,000 at present. So mines, farms and many of these sectors affected by strike action are gradually, and in some cases not so gradually, replacing workers with machines.
All right, we'll leave there for the time being. I'm sure we'll continue to have these conversations as these strikes unfold. But Loane, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme.
Thanks, Peter.